Hello, my name is Creed and welcome to Writer's Blockbuster. Oh, I got a good one for you today, folks. A movie near and dear to the horror genre itself. A group of friends go to a cabin in the woods, but find an odd book that raises ancient demons from their slumber and gives us the incredible Evil Dead. Which of these kooky characters do you think will die first, and who, if any, do you think will survive? Be warned, there are spoilers ahead, and if you enjoy horror movie breakdowns, then don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. We open to see 5 friends drive to a cabin in the woods. We're introduced to them pretty quick and meet Scott, the leader of the group, his girlfriend Shelly, Cheryl, Ash, and his girlfriend Linda. The cabin is dusty and eerie, but it came at the right price.
Not.
The group decide to deal with the slight grime and have a good time. During the night, Cheryl is drawing when the clock suddenly stops. She hears a whispering chant from out her window saying "join us" over and over before her hand becomes possessed. She etches the image of a book onto her pad, and when she lowers the drawing, she sees a vision of a trap door rattling. During dinner, Ash gives a little speech showing us that he's a big ol' nerd before the trap door bursts open. Each of the friends are afraid of what just happened and theorize that maybe an animal hit it open. Scott goes down to investigate. He doesn't answer when the others call for him, and they begin to worry. Ash then goes down to check on him. There's a closed door at one end of the cellar, and Ash nervously moves to open it. Scott pops out, giving Ash a fright.
Hey, come here, I want to show you something.
He says that he's found something and shows Ash a room full of trinkets, including a shotgun, a small skeleton-covered dagger, and an odd book.
This kind of looks like your old girlfriend.
They join the others upstairs and play a tape that they found in the cellar. The tape is a recording of the owner of the cabin. He says that he discovered something incredible in ancient ruins. He describes a book which is bound in human flesh and written in blood that translates to the Book of the Dead. It mostly deals with demons and dark forces that are dead and should remain dead, but the book seems to offer a way for these demons to possess the living. The man then begins to read a passage from the book in the ancient language, and we see the ground outside the cabin seems to be reacting to the incantation. Cheryl screams to shut it off before a tree branch suddenly falls and crashes through the window and scares the crap out of the group. A bit later, Ash surprises Linda with a necklace that he bought her, with a magnifying glass pendant. She absolutely loves it, and Ash earns himself a little smooch. We switch to the perspective of something lingering outside of the cabin. It watches each of the friends through varying windows, and when it sees Cheryl, it chants for her to join it. Cheryl hears the chant and goes outside to investigate.
Is anybody out there?
She can hear twigs snapping, and it sounds like someone is out here with her, but she can't see anybody. A thick fog begins to roll in, and then the forest comes to life. Branches reach out and bind her arms and legs. She's able to tear the tree off of her and runs, but something is chasing her. She tries to make it back to the cabin, but the door is locked, and no one hears as she knocks. Moments before she's caught, Ash opens up and lets her inside. She frantically tells the group what happened, and they all believe her to be crazy. They don't believe that trees could have attacked her at all. She's adamant about leaving and demands that Ash takes her into town right away. And, after a bit of back and forth, he agrees. The only way out of the woods is across a bridge, but when they drive up to it, it seems that it's been destroyed.
It's not the left. No, why won't you listen to me?
Back at the cabin, Ash listens to the rest of the tape. The man says that his wife was possessed by something that he had resurrected with the book. He says that the only way to get rid of them is by dismemberment, and he believes that the demon that took over his wife will soon hunt him down as well. Linda and Shelly are playing a guessing game, trying to guess what card the other is holding. Out of nowhere, Cheryl begins to say each card, seemingly having the ability to sense them, but when she turns around, we see that she has been possessed. She begins to float and speak in an odd voice, asking why they were awakened from an ancient slumber, and saying that now the demons will take them over one by one until none of them are left, and she slumps to the floor. Ash and Linda go to check on her, but Cheryl rises and stabs Linda with a pencil before smacking Ash across the room. She stalks closer and closer to Ash, but Scott jumps in and smacks her into the cellar and chains the trapdoor shut. Something then breaks through Shelly's window, and Ash and Scott hear it from the other room. Scott hesitantly enters the room to find that Shelly is gone. He checks the closet and the bathroom, but while his back is turned, Shelly sneaks up on him, now possessed as well. She jumps on his back, and Scott barrels into the main room. He falls over, and Shelly falls into the fire and seems to be dying. Scott realizes that this is his girlfriend, and he pulls her out, but that was a mistake. Shelly jumps back to her feet and grabs Scott by the throat, demanding that he join them. Ash is behind them, but he's panicking and he can't force himself to help in this situation. Scott grabs the skeletal dagger and stabs Shelly in the back, eliciting a screech from the possessed girl. She begins to spew white liquid before she goes completely still. But these guys never learn. Scott gets close to check on her, and she jumps back to her feet. He backs away with Ash, demanding him to hit her, but Ash can't. Scott then yanks the axe away from Ash and chops his girlfriend into little bits.
Shelly's dead.
Obviously.
We gotta bury her now.
They give the girl a quick burial, and Scott declares that he's getting out of here. Ash says that Linda can't walk due to her leg, but Scott says that he doesn't care and he's fine to just leave her, as that is the only way that he thinks that they can survive. He then leaves, but Ash chooses to stay with his girl. He goes in to check on Linda, but when he sees her wound, it begins to radiate with black veins before she sits up and laughs. Ash backs away when suddenly Scott jumps onto his back, begging for help. It seems he was attacked while in the woods, and Linda watches the duo, giggling the whole time. Scott isn't looking good.
Ash, I don't want to die. You're not gonna leave me, are you, Ash?
He says that there is a way out of the woods through an old hiking trail, but the trees are alive and will attack them if they try to leave. The possessed Linda and Cheryl begin to laugh maniacally.
Shut up!
Scott tells Ash to kill Linda, but when he grabs a gun, Ash can't force himself to pull the trigger. Linda's eyes go back to normal, and she begs him not to let the demons take her away again. Cheryl's voice can then be heard from the trapdoor, sounding completely normal as well, but she doesn't show herself. Ash creeps forward and crouches low to try to get a look at her, but she punches a hole through the floor and grabs him. Ash screams at Cheryl, and when he turns around, we see that Linda has been possessed again. She begins to chant, and Ash drags her outside. He does what he can to help Scott, saying that the sun will be up in about an hour, and then they can make their escape. But his expression drops when he realizes that Scott has died from his wounds. Ash searches for a way out, and while he's looking through a window, Linda sneaks up and stabs him with the skeletal dagger. They wrestle for a moment, and Ash is able to push Linda over, and she falls onto the dagger. White liquid shoots from her mouth, just as we saw before, and then Linda seems to be dead. Ash drags her body to the shed outside and chains her down. He then grabs a chainsaw from off the wall, but he can't bring himself to dismember her. He carries her outside and decides to bury her beside Shelly. While his back is turned, Linda's eyes open, showing us that she has come back to life. Ash picks up Linda and places her in the grave. He realizes that the magnifying lens pendant fell off, and he reaches down to pick it up. Suddenly, Linda's arm shoots from the grave and tears into his leg. He falls to the ground and picks up a wooden beam and begins to fight her off, but she's very strong. She knocks Ash over, and just before she finishes him off, Ash picks up the shovel and slices her head off. He hobbles back into the cabin, only to see that the trapdoor has been broken open. He picks up the shotgun and begins to clear the small cabin, but Cheryl jumps at him through the window. He's able to get a shot into her shoulder, but it doesn't stop her much. He's able to lock her outside, and he realizes that he's out of ammo. He remembers seeing a box of shells down in the cellar, and he cautiously enters the terrifying depths. While down there, his luck continues to worsen as a pipe full of blood bursts right on top of him. He can hear the demons taunt him using his friends' voices, but it's unclear if the voices are somewhere nearby or if they're all just in his head. He finds the shells and reloads the shotgun, and apprehensively heads back upstairs. He's losing his mind, seeing the clock tick backwards and screaming as the shutters bang all around him. When he tries to touch his reflection, his hand goes through the mirror. Reaching into his pocket, he pulls out Linda's pendant, and everything around him seems to quiet down, but a second later, hands break through the door and grab him. He takes a shot at Cheryl, but behind him, Scott's body comes to life. Scott lifts Ash by his neck, but Ash is able to gouge out his friend's eyes, and he pulls a branch from his stomach, causing him to fall to the floor. He sees the Book of the Dead and he tries to crawl to it, but Scott grabs his ankle and drags him backwards. Cheryl then begins to hit him with a fire poker. Ash grabs Linda's pendant and throws it at the book. He gets lucky and hooks the book, and just before Cheryl stabs his head, he tosses it into the fire, causing the possessed friends to all go still. He then watches as they melt away. Demonic hands shoot from the corpses just before they collapse, covering Ash in even more gore before they melt away completely. He rises to his feet, looking triumphant as we see the sun rise and birds chirp in the background. He exits the cabin and hobbles away. We then get a point of view as something rises from the ground and bursts through the cabin, only to attack Ash. And that is where this movie ends. This movie is so good. While the other two in this trilogy are comfortably in like the horror comedy genre, this one plays itself very seriously, and it's filled with terrifying moments, jump scares, and like holy cow, a lot of blood. Like a whole lot of blood. Ash's transformation from a quiet nerdy guy to the crazy soul survivor is really well done, and it's quite compelling, I thought. It's fun and really cool to see how terrifying situations can morph a person, as that instinct to survive like overcomes us, and forces us to do things that we would never have dreamed of before. I think it's kind of realistic, like, for the most part. I don't know what I would have done in this situation. Like, I'd probably be dead right off the bat. Like, if I'm honest, I'd probably like trip down the cellar stairs and actually shoot myself or something stupid like that. But there's no doubt in my mind that I'd be the first casualty in like any situation. Like, even if there was no demons in the cabin, honestly, I think just like me and a cabin has an oddly high fatality chance. But anyway, this movie's incredible, and Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are also amazing, so expect videos on those soon. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, then don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you find a book wrapped in human flesh, then just let it burn, baby. Just let it burn. Bye-bye.
Next time on
Evil Dead.
What do you say we have some champagne, huh, baby?